Hi, I'm Father Jim Martin, Associate Editor of America Magazine, and we're here to talk on America Connects about the new production of A Man for All Seasons, starring Frank Langella, that just opened a few weeks ago on Broadway. And I'd like to introduce my two guests. Would you like to tell the audience about yourself?
I'm Emily Brennan, and I'm from Columbia's Institute for Religion, Culture, and Public Life.
Great to have you.
And I'm Father Mike Tuith, and I teach at Fordham University in the Communication and Media Studies Department, and I'm sort of a theater fan.
So I think right off the bat, the performance that most people would probably compare Frank Langella's to is Sir Paul Scofield's Oscar-winning performance in the movie A Man for All Seasons. How do you think that Frank Langella's performance compares to Paul Scofield's?
Well, it was definitely a lot more emotive and passionate, and he really tried to, I think, bring that aspect of his personality, Langella's personality, into the role, because he's such a charismatic kind of person, and so I think he tried to bring out the inner turmoil more in how he was physically and his oratory, and it was really quite different from Scofield's very controlled, stoic, kind of, it almost felt Scofield was more saintly. He seemed
Right.
more, you know.
Yeah, you wonder, do you have any emotions at all?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of getting your head chopped off?
Yeah.
You really did. He remained so above that, so stoic. And even watching the movie again a few years ago, I watched the film maybe 3 years ago, and I thought, oh boy, I wish we had a little more sense of what's going on inside of him, other than what's going on in his mind.
Yeah, Mike and I were saying when we saw the play that in the movie Paul Scofield seems, as you were saying, more saintly, more above it all, almost like the Jesus in the Gospel of John, who's sort of very elevated, versus the Jesus in the Gospel of Mark, who's kind of more earthy, and it's sort of the divine Thomas More versus the human Thomas More.
Yeah.
Did you find that, were you drawn into the play by Langella's performance?
Yeah, I think both are effective. I think, if with Scofield's performance is more intellectual, because you can almost better hear the dialogue when he articulates it so beautifully, and with Langella you can sort of feel the conflict more. So I think it's two very different performances, but equally effective in how they portray the inner life of a saint.
Do you think, speaking of the life of a saint, do you think that the faith was brought out much in this performance? Did you get a sense of Thomas More, the believer, or was it more Thomas More, the lawyer, who was trying to kind of follow the legal niceties?
I think it definitely was more the believer than Scofield's the lawyer.
I would say so too. For one thing, he's pretty firm about what he thinks about heretics and loyalty to the church, and his belief in the succession of the Pope going all the way back through the apostles to Jesus, a firm belief in that. And then that wonderful scene where he's coming from chanting the office with the monks, and he's in his monk's robes. There's just many indications that his faith was really rip and roof of his life.
Now, speaking of, what did you think of the play overall, having just seen it?
I liked it a lot. I thought that it did focus more on Thomas More, especially because of the absence of the common man character, and I think that required Langella to be more magnetic, to try to attract the audience more, because all of that was done so effectively by the common man isn't there anymore.
Now, can you
So
talk
he
a little?
needed to do that.
Can you talk a little bit about the character of the common man as it functioned in the play, and what his role was?
Well, I loved him. I remember I'm old enough to have seen the original production, and I saw George Rose play it, and it was just a terrific, charming performance. And his self-deprecation, I'm not Thomas More by a long shot. I would never do that. And I've still got at the end of the play, that great moment when he walks out at the end of the play and says, is your head still on your shoulders? So is mine. let's keep it that way. Let's not do anything that causes trouble or disturb people. So, and there's several other good lines like that.
So he's like
I
a
went-
Greek chorus, is that the idea?
not so much. He really isn't. He's more, well, the Bertolt Brecht device that Brecht says he got from Chinese theater, which I'm not familiar with, of distancing the play a bit so that you can be an intermediary somewhat and comment on it. Brecht did it a lot with his social criticism in Three Penny Opera and so on. I never particularly felt it was necessary. You know, if you aren't captured by the drama and the argument of the play, why do you need someone to underline it? Even though he does it cleverly and in a charming way, it doesn't work that well for me. So I didn't really miss him that much, except for the few great, the sort of sardonic humor every now and then.